KY3 First Alert Weather.
Well, good evening, everybody. The National Weather Service has issued a tornado warning now until 10:45 for sections of Greene, Christian, and Webster County. It's with that storm that I was just telling you about that was coming out of Ozark, producing basically a bow echo. So as we zoom in on this thing, you can see the bow echo right in here, but on Storm Tracker 3, there's actually a little bit of a hook. And so whatever potential tornado is going to be along County Line Road and Farm Road 186, just to the south of Highway 60. Now that is going to take it up to about Highway 60, just around 125. So it's going to be just south of the high school here in southeastern Greene County. And again, anybody along County Road also needs to be taking shelter. Very high winds are moving through this area right now. So that thunderstorm is going to continue moving eastward over towards Rogersville, right along Highway 60. So if you know, you may want to, if you know somebody who's going to be traveling Highway 60, get them off the road and into shelter. That system will continue to move up and right into downtown, the old part of downtown Rogersville. So around, basically on the north side of the tracks there's some houses, there's some subdivisions, there's some apartments and stuff. All of those areas there on that outer road need to be taking shelter at this time. So that potential tornado is coming in your direction. Now from there, it is going to move just to the west. There's some baseball fields out over in here. There's some farmland. You've got the gun store that's located right here. And then that's going to take it right on into Fordland. So that area just to the northwest of those ball fields and the gun store, that tornado is going to be going right there, right along, basically along the railroad tracks. So it's following the railroad tracks, and that'll take it right in to Fordland, right in here. So folks in Fordland also need to be thinking about what you're going to do as that storm is going to be moving in your direction. Now we have some other severe weather tonight with the form of some fairly large hail up in the northeast part of town, on up towards Fellows Lake, 125 up towards Fair Grove, and we have some additional heavy rain from Stone County back down into northeastern sections of Berry County this evening. So again, the one storm that we're watching has been producing that bow echo there along County Line Road and Farm Road 186. Looks like it's probably east of 205 right now. I'm going to try and zoom in just a little bit more, and you can kind of see what I'm talking about right in there. So you see kind of that little bit of a hook echo down in here. And so I think what's happening is we're getting what we call a bookend vortice right in here. And so these strong winds are coming in like this across the northern part of Christian County. And what that's doing is it's causing this part of the thunderstorm to rotate. And so that's what's drawing in the drier air on the north side of this thing. I don't think the tornado's here. I think the tornado is going to be down here, right on the Greene County, Christian County line. So again, anybody along a County Line Road, there in southern part of Greene County up to Farm Road 186, and of course there's a whole bunch of north-south county roads that are going out that way, including, like I said, 205. I think 215 is out there, and that extends all the way over towards 125. So again, this is going to move right in here between the county line and up here where 125 and 60 come in. There's the come and go right up in here. The high school's right in here. So everybody south of that high school all the way down to the county line certainly needs to be taking shelter, as that potential tornado is going to be moving right in that direction. Now, as it comes across 125, it's going to go back over kind of some open ground. There's some field and stuff in there. But just in here, just on the west side, you get off up in here and you get into some apartment complexes that are up in there. And all those apartment complexes north of the bank, I think you guys need to be taking shelter in that area as well. The post office is up in here. So if you live around the post office, I need for you guys to be taking shelter there on the west side of Rogersville. And then that's going to run right here on the north side of town and basically pick up those railroad tracks and follow that right on into the Fordland area. So again, this is what we're talking about. And again, your potential tornado is in here. Now, the thing about this is it's probably rain wrapped tonight. And so you're not going to be able to see this thing. And so don't even try to do that. It's probably not a very big tornado either. It's going to be on the scale of EF0 or probably EF1, but that's going to be be enough to produce some damage. Of course, it'll take shingles, maybe sections of a roof. It's going to take small outbuildings, trampolines, things like that, sheds, and it's going to destroy those as it moves in this area. It's also going to break a lot of tree limbs, so expect some power outages in that area as well as that storm moves in that direction. So it's moving basically east-northeast at around 35 miles per hour. So again, it's going to take it right over here to the 125-60 junction and then basically move it up here to the north side of Rogersville, I think is where the track of that thing is eventually going to go. So you get up here around D Highway, that's going to be up in here, so south of there. 125, we've already got that established, and then I think there's another, was it B or BB or something coming out of Rogersville. I think all these areas up in here also need to be in your tornado shelter this evening. So again, this is going to be the general direction that tornado is going to be heading tonight. So maybe even want to include, yeah, this thing's already by the high school now, but it looks like it came very close to the high school. And again, your tornado is going to be right in here coming into the north side of Rogersville right now. Now, this right in here is probably going to be some really high winds. So that's going to take in VV Highway, folks, all the way down towards Sparta. There's some, you know, if you follow VV south, it becomes a farm road, and there's a whole bunch of left and rights and stuff that take it back down towards the Finley, let's see, I think it's the Finley River down in here. And so anybody out there on that farm road, I think for you guys need to be taking shelter as well, or at least move to the center part of the house in case you get these really high winds blowing some objects around. Now that high wind is going to extend right here along the Christian County, Webster County line and keep that over towards Z Highway. So folks over around Z Highway are going to have to be taking shelter from the very high winds. The tornadic portion of the storm is now probably north of Rogersville. And again, that is going to be basically paralleling the railroad track. Now the railroad track runs pretty much right next to the highway right in here. So it's going to be just a little bit to the north and west of that is where this potential tornado is going to track tonight. Now, if you live in Fordland, this thing is going to come very close to Fordland, certainly the west and northwest sides, and that's going to get it pretty close to our towers. So folks that live around our towers are going to want to watch out for this potential tornado moving in that direction. And of course, that may cause some power glitches or something with our signal tonight as that storm moves over and disrupts the electricity and actually the broadcast capability, because as you get that really heavy rain in there, that signal is going to be distorted coming out of there. So you may notice some glitching tonight on your television set, depending upon how you actually receive our signal. So anyway, but that is where that is going to be going tonight, up towards the towers, up towards our radar here, pretty close to Fordland. Now, if you live here in Springfield, you don't have to worry about that. If you live down here in Ozark, you're just getting some moderate to heavy rain. Nixa, just some heavy rain right now, so don't worry about any tornado. Again, that is up here towards Rogersville, and it's going to be north of town now by about a half a mile to a mile or so, and then that extends off onto the north and to the east. So again, southwestern portions of Webster County are going to be in the vicinity of that. So while we're taking a look at this, I'm just going to go ahead and kind of switch some things around here. Let's see if we have any debris that happens to be showing up on this tonight. We'll click on that, and we're not, let me change this over here for a second. Now you'll notice that we're kind of following that high wind line. So I'm not quite sure that this is a real debris ball, but we'll want to watch this area. This is certainly suspect. There may be some smaller debris, tree leaves. As I said, there may be some smaller things like that. It's not real condensed, so I'm not quite sure it's hit a lot of residential areas, but there may have been like an old barn or some shingles or something that got taken up in that. But you can see where the high wind is really kicking things up, going all the way down through Sparta. So Sparta is getting some pretty high winds at the present time as well. So again, you can kind of watch this area tonight as it moves off to the north and to the east. And again, any potential tornado is going to be right up in here where you kind of see what we call the comma head. There are sort of different ways to create tornadoes. And in this case, it's just really strong winds that are coming out of the storm. And you have to think of the air being fluid, right? So the air it's not gas or water, but it's fluid. And so you can cause it to spin. You can take a fan or you can blow it and you can cause the air to swirl. And that's what we're doing here. We're taking the high winds, we're punching them out, and we're causing the air to swirl. And it's the swirling air in this case that causes that tornado. And it's not really the the same dynamics as the bigger tornadoes that we had early in the month in April and in March when we had all that damage. This is a kind of a different kind of animal that creates these kind of things, and that's why they're not particularly large tornadoes, like I said, EF0 or EF1. So we're talking about winds that could be 80 to 100 miles per hour, probably not stronger than that with this cell as it moves up. But still, you know, that can do some damage, and so that's why I want everybody to be prudent and, of course, take shelter from the storm as it's moving up into southwestern portions of Webster County right now. Let me see if I can get on some velocity on here and see what we can pick up as far as these winds go. And I may have to take that off and see if we can pick up these high winds. So there we're picking up 66 mile per hour winds. Northwest of that, there's 55 miles per hour coming through Rogersville right now. As we go down the line towards Sparta, you'll notice they're a bit weaker, somewhere around 30 miles per hour. And you get up around Oak Grove, 48 miles per hour. So these are some areas that I do bike. There's I think the dairy or something out in here as well. So again, we see very, very strong winds in this area. And so again, it's just those real strong winds that are shooting through there to create that potential tornado. Now, as I'm going to take these wind speeds off, so I'm going to let you look at those for a second. And then what I want to do is show you something. Now, typically when we talk about tornadoes, we talk about a couplet, right? So we say you see the really bright reds versus next to the bright greens, right? Okay, well, we don't have that tonight. So we don't have really strong core of bright greens, but we have really strong core of bright reds in here. And so again, that tells me that this whole thing is being created by these really strong winds that are gusting out, as opposed to, say, the whole thunderstorm to spinning around and having these great dynamics with this. So this is kind of a more of a low-level feature with the thunderstorm than it is, say, a mid and upper-level jet stream kind of feature. But the bottom line is, whatever tornado is being created by these high winds that you see right in here, and again, the radar, excuse me, is estimating those winds to be about 66 miles per hour. So again, we can also watch these core very high winds moving through Rogersville. So again, move to the center of the house, get away from windows, make sure the curtains are closed, and make sure that the shades are closed as well. And again, that is what I'm going to be tracking here in the next few minutes or so. So Paul is signaling me.
Oh, I was just letting you know that we have a graphic pulled up for people if they want a visual representation of where to go in this thunderstorm. If you want to show that very quickly, Ron, while you check out some of that data. You want to be in the green areas on this graphic here. You want to be in the hallway, interior hallway, in your bathroom. The basement is the very best place. The red areas, you want to avoid those. You want to avoid the exposed garage, the living room, the kitchen, the bedroom. So get into the interior of your house in that green area. Ron?
Yeah, Paul, and again, following the reflectivity of this thunderstorm, and I need to tell the producers that the battery on my earpiece has gone out, so I can't hear any instructions. So I want to let you know that as well. But again, you notice this core with the bow echo right here. And again, those strong winds are moving away from the radar like this. So again, very strong winds are occurring in Rogersville right now. And those same strong winds are going to be moving along Highway 60 up towards the Fordland area. And again, heading pretty close to our tower tonight. And you'll notice this little notch right in there. So that means that this part of the storm is rotating just a little bit, just enough to kind of draw that drier air in and create that little bit of a notch. And again, if there's a tornado in here, it is going to be rain wrapped and you're not going to see it. So don't, try to rush outside to see that thing. It's dark, it's rain wrapped. Just go ahead and move to shelter. That's going to be the best thing that you can do right now to, protect you and your family and any property, is to make sure that you guys are doing that. So I'm going to go ahead and change these real quick. I'm going to hand that to Paul and let him take care of that while I talk. But again, what we saw tonight, or what we're going to see tonight, are some thunderstorms producing hail to the size of golf balls. And again, we're going to see some pretty strong winds with some of these storms. And remember that earlier today we had temperatures that were 79 degrees, thanks Paul, for our high temperature, and the humidity is really pretty stifling out there for mid-April. You may have noticed that the dew point temperatures have come up, and it really feels a lot more like summertime across the Ozarks. And so it's that warm, humid, unstable atmosphere that these thunderstorms are feeding on this evening. So again, we're going to see this potential for severe thunderstorms off and on through the night. There is a severe thunderstorm watch that's in effect for a good portion of southwest Missouri until 3 o'clock in the morning. And keep in mind, even if you have a severe thunderstorm watch, the definition includes the fact that not only, winds to 58 miles per hour and hail, bigger than, an inch and 3/4, but it also includes the potential for tornadoes. And so, again, we are seeing that this evening. And again, we are going to be right over our towers right now where this potential wind is going to be right here in Fordland. And so again, downtown Fordland, need for you guys to be in your tornado shelters or at least in the center of a structure, get away from windows, and make sure that you have a way to monitor our broadcast should the power go out. So make sure your phone is charged, because remember, we're streaming on that device, and so it kind of takes the place of a television if you don't have that. So I want to kind of reposition this just a little bit so that you have a better view of what's going on. But again, this whole thing is coming into Fordland, and whatever potential tornado there is going to be right in here. So this is where the potential tornado is going to be. It's just to the northwest of Fordland, and again, it's going to be out where our towers are, and the radar dome is going to be located tonight. So right in there is what we're going to be watching. And again, that is going to continue going off to the north and to the east. So it's going to pass to the north of Diggins tonight, and then that's going to continue moving off way to the north of Seymour, and then that's going to take it on up towards, say, Highway 38 here, not too long from now. So again, that is the direction that the storm is going to be moving here in the next 12 minutes or so this evening. In fact, we can go ahead and put a storm track on here, and I can show you exactly where that is going to be headed. So again, the tornado here is going to be here, and then it's moving off basically in this direction right in here. So let's go over Fordland right now. Diggins, maybe Gentry School are in the path of this thing. Jericho, Antioch Church, New Grove. There's another Mountaindale school maybe in the midst of this, and of course Pea Ridge Church. So we've added a few other landmarks in there to follow along tonight. And again, chunks of Highway 60 are going to be impacted by this as well. And so hopefully folks that are going to be out there on the road, if you know somebody, call them, tell them to maybe pull over to the side of the road and wait out some of these high winds, because you get a blast of wind like that, it could jerk the car pretty suddenly one way or the other, and you don't want to have an accident this evening, or we don't want anybody to have an accident this evening. So again, the tornado warning remains in effect until 10:45 tonight. And again, this thing is just working its way right along Highway 60, and then pretty soon, again, this thing is going to be just moving just like this. And so it's going to pass Diggins to the north. It's going to be out over the Mennonite area. So hopefully those folks are going to be taking shelter here, if they're not already, pretty soon. And then that's going to take it up towards New Grove. And you'll notice how you can kind of see it coming out of the top of the banner there. That's Highway 38. That is up to the north. So folks over there going to be west of the Hartville area need to be thinking about what to do if this storm continues to hold together this evening. So again, a storm, make sure everybody's dressed. If you do have damage, windows get blown out, roofing gets taken off tonight. We don't want somebody having to deal with nails and sharp glass, so make sure you have shoes on your feet, and make sure you have your storm safety kit with you this evening. If you have a two-story home, make sure that the family's all in one place, and that way you know where everybody is should you have to move to shelter with this. So again, a good idea there. Now, some of the smaller kids may be in bed, but you may want to kind of, be ready to move them very quickly. I have to pull them out of bed and get them to shelter tonight. Let's go ahead and see if we're getting any debris, and you'll notice that we're still kind of picking up this little area, kind of fuzzy area in here, so the wind's certainly kicking up some debris, that is for sure, just to the north and to the east of Fordland tonight. So again, a pretty good idea that there's something going on there that remains pretty strong. And again, that is going to be moving to the north of Diggins. Paul, you have some information?
I want to let you know that the tornado warning for southeastern Greene County is canceled, but For south central Webster County, it is still in effect for another 9 or 10 minutes.
Yeah, 9 or 10 minutes. And if you live down here in Christian County, don't worry about that either, because it appears that whatever funnel is going to be right up here to the north of the Fordland area this evening. So again, just really here basically along and north of Highway 60. Have there been any reports of any damage or anything come in, Paul?
Not yet. I've been watching for that. I haven't seen anything. We do have some video on the screen, and to me, well, I'm going to let you look at it. I'll start playing it over here and let you look at it. This is, I believe this is from Webster County, and I'll get this playing here. Correction, this is from the Nixa area a little while ago. And it's tough to see because it's dark out and it may be, but when the lightning comes, you can kind of see something. Yeah,
you can definitely see something in there. It looks more like a funnel cloud than a tornado. Remember, the definition of a tornado is a rapidly rotating column of air in contact with the ground. If it's not in contact with the ground, it is a funnel cloud. And at night, what you want to do is you want to watch that. And what we don't see on the surface is power flashes, Paul. So we have the lightning flashes, but we're not seeing any power lines being taken down with that thing, at least not in this particular view. You'll want to, of course, watch that lightning to see as it's backlit. There's going to be some strong winds in there as well. So again, watch those things very carefully tonight and look for debris too, and also look to see if this thing becomes very smooth. It's a little on the ragged side, but it looks like that may be the funnel cloud moving across Christian County there to the north of Nixa. So again, a very dangerous thunderstorm tonight over in Webster County. We certainly urge you to take shelter. While we were watching that video, I was able to get another reading on these winds. Notice 68-mile-per-hour winds now out over Fordland. Now, the thing about the wind reading is, keep in mind, this is coming from the Springfield radar, not from our radar. We are certainly much closer to that, but now you're starting to get up at several hundred feet off of the ground, and so maybe not quite all of that 68-mile-per-hour wind is making it to the ground, but a good portion of it is. So plan on at least maybe some power outages and some tree damage out there to the northwest of Fordland tonight. And then you can also see some pretty strong winds going back down towards Olga, and then that is going to cross southern sections of Webster County south of Highway 60, and then whatever funnel we have is going to be associated with those high winds. And again, they're traveling off to the north and to the east with that cell this evening. So again, there's a lot of high winds in there, and there's certainly something going on. Hopefully we're not experiencing any damage with that this evening. Again, the what we call the debris ball, or the correlation coefficient, isn't particularly solid. It is kind of a little ragged, but certainly it does show a highlighted area with this. This more, because of this feature right in here, makes me think that it's more wind-driven than anything else tonight, as opposed to tornado-driven, but there are some areas in here where we're getting some higher pockets, so certainly there is that potential of some tornado. And really, the atmosphere is actually fairly conducive to it. And so one other thing that you have to know about tonight is this, and since we have a little time, it's kind of geeky meteorology, right? Let me put the reflectivity back on here so you can see that. So when you want to have like tornadoes, right, you can't have a really high temperature like 80 and a really dry dew point like 50, okay? What you need is these two numbers to be very close together. And you need them, and basically you need them to be ideally within 10 degrees. And so we've seen that tonight, right? The air temperature dropped down to about 71 when I was plotting my map at 9:30, and the dew point temperature was 63. And so whenever you get those numbers very close together, what happens is as the rear flank downdraft and the winds come down, they stay very moist and they don't dry out. And so they're able to kind of spin this thing up. And now you'll notice that whatever winds we have out there, because of the rotation, are kind of pinching off with this storm. And so hopefully we're maybe going to start disrupting the airflow to that thing here just a little bit. And maybe we can knock down this potential for a tornado that's basically right now just to the north of Diggins by about a mile or so. Maybe 3/4 of a mile to a mile just to the north of Diggins. And again, lots of Amish and Mennonites and stuff out in that area, and I hope that they are taking shelter tonight from that storm. And again, very high winds now between Diggins and Seymour, and you'll notice it's about halfway Excuse me. So there's going to be some storage area out in here. So that is probably getting hit with some pretty high winds here. And then as the road kind of bends around and comes back into Seymour, you're going to get the McDonald's is located right here. So you've only got just 5 or 10 minutes or so, maybe before that high wind gets to the McDonald's. So folks there need to kind of be moving away from the big windows there at the McDonald's. You've got the fireworks stand over here. Of course, the cemetery's here. I guess that doesn't really matter, but you get out here towards the manufacturing plant. If they're still working tonight, they need to be taking shelter there. And then you've got the Casey's and the Taco Bell over here on this side of town, high school located down in here as well. So in all those places, again, very high, strong winds moving into that part of our viewing area this evening. Again, the circulation is going to be up in here, and then all of this is just very high winds tonight. So again, we're kind of pinching this thing off a little bit, so hopefully maybe we can kind of disrupt that airflow and maybe this thing will go away here pretty quickly, and we'll let this thing to expire. Have about 3 more minutes or so left on that tornado warning, and we'll see if they decide to reissue that here pretty quickly. Alrighty, well, they've issued the severe thunderstorm warning now for Webster and Wright County for some 3/4 inch hail and 70-mile-per-hour winds. And again, as I was showing you earlier, we have already picked up winds to 68 miles per hour with that. I can kind of show you again where that wind core is. And you know, this is actually good news too. It looks like these wind speeds have dropped a little bit and are not nearly as concentrated as they were a few minutes ago. So Diggins, 53 miles per hour. There's an area just to the north of that, 53 miles per hour. Coming into Seymour, about 48 miles per hour. So it looks like these winds have dropped. If you're watching here on our coverage just a few minutes ago, you'll have noticed that there was a much bigger core of really strong winds, and they got up into the brighter pinks, and I think there was actually some orange in there. That has all sort of gone away. So it looks like these wind speeds have come down some 10 to 15 miles per hour. And again, that is great news. We're not seeing that core kind of up in here anymore. It's becoming more diffuse. And so what's happening is as that energy kind of starts to relax, those high winds spread out, right? So it's kind of like a skater. When you're going really fast, the arms are in. When the arms are out, then the storm starts to slow down. It doesn't quite spin as fast. And that's what's happening. The storm was spinning pretty fast, and then now it's relaxing and these winds are coming out. So here in just a few seconds or so, we're going to go ahead and kind of throw you back to programming, since we will no longer have any more tornado warning here in effect. But again, we will have some very strong thunderstorms that we're going to be dealing with tonight. Let me put the reflectivity back on here, and then I'm going to widen out a bit so you can see what's happening across the entire viewing area. And you can see these strong thunderstorms now from around Conway down to Marshfield, extending all the way to north of Diggins, and then you'll see another heavy thunderstorm coming out of Stone County, back up to just south of Nixa and headed up towards Ozark. So expect another round of moderate to heavy rain there, and that extends all the way down to Cassville. So it appears to, one other thing that's very important before I leave you, is that it appears that somewhere kind of stretching out from Roby to Hartville to Ozark to Cassville is going to be one area of heavy rain tonight. And then back up here to the north and to the west, there may be some additional thunderstorms try to develop in here. Models have always suggested there were going to be 2 lines of very heavy rain through the overnight, but the bottom line is you can kind of see now either side of I-44 how we're going to have some heavy rain. And the problem is that these thunderstorms are going to continue all night long, coming in waves. And so by early tomorrow morning, there's likely to be some flooding in this area. So when you get up and try to travel and get some weekend chores done, be very careful in those areas, some county roads and things like that, where flooding often occurs. Make sure you go slow and make sure you keep your eyes open for any flooding. And of course, you may have to turn around and don't drown. All right, that's the very latest weather information we have for you, and I'm going to go ahead and release it and send John back to programming this evening. But know that I'll be here watching it and hand it off to Nicolette later on tonight. Have a great night, everybody.